All right? All right, so collections are iterable. You know, all right, so this, there is a, yeah, sometimes I steal slides from other people because they seem to think it was useful. So, and then we have to work together to make sure we understand what it means. All right, so this is, now we're getting more actual libraries of Java, right? So in Java, there are these libraries called collections, right? Remember we saw the tree. Remember the tree? You had collections, and you had sets and lists, and then you had stacks, right? So collections is at the top, right? And collections is defined by Java, and they're iterable. So what does iterable mean? You know, why is one collection green and one collection yellow? I don't know. Yeah? The class. See, good. See? We can work together and learn this stuff. Right. Right. In fact, it says. You can just read it even, right? The green one is an instance of the yellow one. All right, excellent. So, and you can read about it on here. All right, so here I guess collection is an iterable, right? And then we have priority queues, or queues, which are collections, which are iterable, right? So all of these things are iterable, right? And then so what can you? I add this my last pass through the slides. I added this question mark because it told me, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to put stuff up here, and I don't have to explain it right now, and you don't have to understand it right now, because what we're going to do next is explain it. That's what the question mark means. All right? All right, so what does it mean? Right, all right, so this collection has, right, so this thing here is creating, it's creating one of these objects, this iterable collection object, and it's sticking it into this variable int. And what is it going to do? It's going to be an iterator, right? And what can you do in an iterator is, you know, you can it's a set of objects that you can iterate through, right? It's basically, remember we said, what is a set? It's a set of objects. What can you do to it? You can add things, remove it, and you can iterate through them, right? So that's what we're talking about here. Right? And what is, now once we have this object it, and of course we're going to talk about, if you were in Java, you would say it is this object. If you were in C, you would say, well, it is actually a pointer to the object, but let's not get into that right now. You know, here we have this it, and what can you do to it is you can, the it must have a loop invariant, an invariant that knows which object in its set it's currently working on, right? It has a current object. And when you say next, it moves it to the next object, right? In that some order, right? And it must return the object so that then the system line can print out that object, right? Everybody with me here? Well, I'm going to assume that when you first create it, that it's automatically pointing at the first one. And then, so here, what this code is saying, as long as the current, or as long as there is another object, move to it and print it. Yeah, so this says next, so it says, right, so as long as there is a next, move to it, right? So if you move to it when there wasn't one, it would probably give you an error, right? So that's why we're checking. As long as there is a next object, move to it, and tell me what the next one is so that I can print it. Good point. Listen to him. Everybody get that question? Is the first object printed here? Yes? Why? Oh, fair enough. When we start off, it's not pointing at the first object. It's pointing before the first object. I like him. We'll teach the course together, okay? I'm really, we're in on this. Everybody good? Right, that completely makes sense, right? It's kind of like the empty trees at the bottom, right? You make your whole thing easier if you have these dummies that hang around. So he's talking about kind of a dummy at the beginning that we're pointing at so that we can, right? Now, of course, you could have done this differently, right? You could have said what it returns. I mean, I might want to print the current one, right, as opposed to print the next one. But, right, it returns. All right, so here, this even seems to be a lie, right? Because this says it returns the current element, initially the first ones, and steps to the next, which is different than what you said. Now, did I say this, or did I copy this from Andy? That's a good question. Right. Don't know.
Like plus plus in C language, right? So it first does the integration, then adds.
Well, yeah, there's the plus plus and the plus plus, right? So if you want to know why I'm religious about loop invariance, it's because of this kind of off by one error. I want to know the loop invariant is what is the current object, right? That's the loop invariant. And then I need to know, well, is it printing the next one, or is it returning the current one, right? All of these off by one bugs, really, we solve them by having a clear contract of what the loop invariant is and what the definitions are, right? So I'm going to go from next that it's returning the next one, and that this is wrong here, right? It doesn't.
I believe it returns the first one, then steps to the next one. So stepping to the next one is the last thing.
Yeah. Actually, I think what you said is actually you could view it either way. It's just a matter of thinking about it. In fact, when I'm teaching 31.1, one times I say, okay, should the loop invariant be this or this, right? And people say, well, it shouldn't matter. And I say, you're right, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're consistent, right? You should know, is it this or is it this, and you should be consistent with it. All right, so, right, checks if there's another one, right? And then, evidently, I've never done this, so again, we're going to have to rely on him. You know, the for each statement, right? I guess if the object O is an iterator, then we can say, right, O is a collection, and so we're going to loop over all of them, right? It just makes it faster. Yeah, exactly. So people who are keen on this stuff can write code faster. Right? What do they allow you to do? Next, previous, has next, has previous, add, set, remove, all the things you would think are obvious, right? Next, index, previous index. I'm not sure how is that different than next? Oh, this moves to the next. Maybe this tells you the next without moving? Oh, the actual index versus the objects. All right. Now we're on to a new topic. And when I read this last week, I must admit I was getting muddled with this myself, and I had to go through and say, okay, how would I do it in my world? And then I kind of translated back. Yeah.